All right, friends. I think we are ready to start. So you can continue as you need to move, and keep filling out those memory cards and do what you need to do and make yourselves comfortable. We're gonna begin with if you didn't get to read Eirik's obituary yet, you get one more opportunity here to do it in a little different way. So. Friends, welcome. Some of you, not many of you, some of you know me. I'm Matt. I am Eirik's cousin, and I'm also a United Methodist minister, so I'm a little out of my element here because things are a little less standard for me in this service, but it's a time to remember Eirik and do it in a way that hopefully would make him smile, and I think I feel him a little bit more present with us now than I remember saying to my wife before I had actually learned that he had died, but knew, it was soon. But I just woke up in the morning and said to her, the world feels a little less today, and I just kind of knew. And today it feels a little more. Being together with you all and with all the memories that you all bring and the love that you bring. So that's, I say all of this to say that that's what we're here to do, is to bring our love for Eirik, our love for each other together in a moment, to be a community of love and support for one another. And I've learned that Eirik would not be pleased if I said that we're journeying together today, that he wasn't fond of that. And I was so happy that Monica shared that with me, because I realized it's something that, as a minister, I just use a lot of the language that kind of gets, that you're reading and you get to all the time. I'm always talking about the journeys that we're on together, but it's not really what I believe. I believe in moments. I believe that we have the moment here now that's in front of us, and we can give ourselves fully to now, to this moment. And I think that's some of that with the journey thing is, how can we be on a journey when we don't know where it's going? We don't know what's coming up next. We don't know where we're going to get to. But so today we are here in this moment, and we all, I made a note for myself in my outline here for what this part is about. I said, gathering our whole selves into the space. And what that means for me is that we're all coming from stuff going on in our lives as we arrive here today. We're all coming with whatever we were doing before we arrived. We're all coming now with a Godzilla movie fresh on our minds. We're coming in all kinds of different ways, and we're all grieving in different ways. Eirik gave one instruction for today, right? That it's not sad. Well, yeah. We're not gearing it towards being sad, but I'm sad, and I'm lots of things. I'm feeling lots of things, and you all are feeling lots of things. And some of those things may be unresolved things with Eirik that you never got to say to him, that you never got to work out with him, that you never got to tell him that you wanted to. Those things might be there. There may be things, and I say this at every single funeral, memorial service, celebration of life that I do, and I always tell people it's not specific to any of us. It happens in every setting when we gather with people from parts of our lives, is that there may be things with other people in this room that, we haven't resolved or talked about, or just, we might not gather with each other normally. But here we are as a community of love and support for each other for this moment, for now. And so all the things that we're carrying with us in our busy minds, and I have one of the busiest of them, in our busy minds and our busy hearts and all of our busyness, and the things that have gone unsaid, and the things that, when we look around and we say, this is the community that we have for today, all that other stuff, we can't resolve it right now. Some stuff we can't ever resolve, but you know what we could do? We could put it on a shelf for a little while. We could put it to the side and say, right now, the people who are here because they love Eirik. We're all here for the same reason. He gathered us together today as a community of love that he's drawn together from different parts of his life. So this is an invitation. We're going to take a little time to, maybe there's something that you need to take a moment to name in your heart and say, oh yeah, I'm carrying that with me today. And that's not helping me to heal, or that's not helping me to be loving and supporting to others, or whatever it may be. Or they may be something that's blocking us from receiving the love and healing that we need today in order to figure out what tomorrow looks like. And so all of those things, I'm just going to invite us to take some time, name them in our hearts, and put them on a shelf, let them go for those who are people of faith. For me, I just say entrust it to God's care for a while, because I can't handle it right now, and whatever that might mean for all of us. And while we do, we'll hear a song to remind. We just heard it a little while ago, but we're here again to kind of remind us of what we're here to be friends to each other. You may have noticed when I first spoke, I said friends, and I don't know a lot of you, but you are my friends, because we're gathered together here now in this community of love and support. So we'll hear with a little help from my friends and invite you to meditate on those things that you need to just let go of in the moment. There it is.
What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing out of key. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. Gets high with a little help from his friends. Oh, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. What do I do when my love is away? Does it worry you to be alone? How do I feel by the end of the day? Are you sad because you're on your own? I get by with a little help from my friends. Yeah, I get high with a little help from my friends. Oh, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Do you need anybody? I need somebody to love. Could it be anybody? I want somebody to love. Would you believe in a love at first sight? Yeah, I'm certain that it happens all the time. What do you see when you turn out the light? I can't tell you, but I know it's mine. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. I get high with a little help from my friends. Oh, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Do you need anybody? I need
So that's what we're going to do for, did it shut off? It is? There we go. I think it goes in a step. Oh. We'll get this right by the end. There? No? It's showing on. Oh. There's a standby too, apparently. All right. I'll make all the mistakes so nobody else has to. We are going to, so as I said, the instructions from Eirik, don't be sad, right? So in talking with Monica, we figured, we should make it Eric's responsibility to lighten the mood for us a little bit. So we're going to hear Eirik telling a short story and be able to get a laugh from him ourselves. And I have no idea what this is going to do sound-wise, so hopefully it comes.
Take cover, because Eirik Gumeny is bringing us a cautionary tale, Revenge of the Supper.
Dr. Wilde ran into Dr. Mannheim's office, locking the door behind him with great passion. Test subject TM03, he panted. He's loose. He's just a turkey. Haven't you been reading the updates? Dr. Wilde grabbed the top of a filing cabinet and began dragging it toward the door. Help me move. The doorway exploded, sending Dr. Wilde sprawling across the office. As papers floated down and smoke drifted up, a very large turkey stepped into the threshold. Dr. Mannheim tilted his head. Is that? TM03, shouted Dr. Wilde, diving behind Dr. Mannheim in his large metal desk. I don't see what the big deal is. I've eaten bigger turkeys than... The genetically modified bird pulled an AK-47 from behind his back. Okay, that's new. In the moment it took TM03 to wrap his artificially prehensile feathers around the trigger, Dr. Mannheim was able to flip his desk onto its side and join his colleague on the floor. A spray of bullets almost immediately began flying above them, quickly moving lower and slamming into the desk. Dr. Mannheim, however, was less than concerned. That is one hell of a desk, said his colleague, admiring the lack of artillery tearing through it. I don't fuck around when it comes to office furniture, replied Dr. Mannheim. And I don't fuck around when it comes to being attacked by poultry either. Grabbing the phone cord, he pulled the receiver to his side. He shouted into the phone, Code 12, in my office. Release the Christmas ham. We have a code for this? Asked the incredulous Dr. Wilde. The gunfire stopped abruptly. There was a small thunk and then a very, very loud boom. The desk bulged slightly and slid a few inches backwards. Then an awful squawk cut through the air, followed by an unpleasantly high-pitched voice. Devils, savages, no more will you play God with my feathered brethren. No more will you torture us and experiment on us for plumper, juicier breasts. No more will you freeze our desecrated corpses and sell them to families honoring their genocidal ancestors. Your time is at an end, barbarians. There was another thunk, another boom, and then the gunfire resumed. You never enhance their sentience, never, barked Dr. Mannheim. That's rule 1. Suddenly, from seemingly everywhere at once, there was a frothing, snarling oink. What the hell is that? The Christmas ham, said Dr. Mannheim. A low, steady rumbling shook the room, turning into something like thunder. There was a terrified skreek and then a bowel-loosening porcine roar. And then there was silence. Dr. Mannheim inched up over the desk to see what had become of the turkey. The bird was gesticulating to the Christmas ham, articulating all he had learned in a kind of animal sign language. The ham appeared to be nodding his assent. Dr. Mannheim slid slowly to the floor, his back against the desk, his face frozen. Well, asked Dr. Wilde. Our goose is cooked.
All right, thank you, Eirik, for lightening the mood. So I thought about our time together in kind of 3 movements, and we already have gone through one. We gathered ourselves, and we set the tone as best we could. And now it's time to reflect a little bit, and these next 2 kind of movements, one is going to be a time for us to celebrate Eirik's life, and for us to remember him and to lift up those things that we want to lift up and share. And so what that's going to look like, I am going to I'm going to share a little reflection, a little bit of framing for us. We won't call it preaching in this space, but I am what I am. And then we will have time for folks to open up and share. We will actually, and in between me sharing, we'll have a song too, just to kind of to help us transition. And Roger's going to start us off after the song. I don't think I pointed that out to you before. So we'll hear a song just to get us in that space. So I give you some time now to think and to be able to, if there's anything that you want to share, just don't talk about the journey that we're on together, and we should be good. I'm going to slip at some point and say that we're on a journey. I know. And I just got to get my cursor. So, I was thinking in terms of, framing of what we're doing and why we're doing it. We're not, yes, Eirik asked for 2 services. He asked, and he asked that I be here, and he asked that they not be sad. So we've got that stuff covered. So we're doing that as far as that's concerned, we're doing it for Eirik, but we're doing it for us to remember and to celebrate him. And these are kind of the things I've come to that I'm able to say kind of generically, I think, with any kind of group that I'm gathered with. Whatever we think happens after death, I'm sure we have lots of different thoughts about that, opinions, and I don't know. Unlike Eirik, I haven't done it several times, but I don't know what comes next. I trust for me and my faith, I believe in love primarily. I call that love God, and I believe that we're all kind of connected to it in one way or another. I know some people believe in the goodness of the universe. Some people believe just in love itself, and some people believe that this is it. This is our shot at loving each other and being here and being present, and afterwards, then we don't have to worry about it. And wherever you are with any of that, that's okay. I'm not here to dictate any of that. I, from my own experiences, just have felt and trust in this overwhelming love that I know I'm a part of, and I know that you all are a part of from where I stand. And this isn't a theology class or even Sunday morning, so I don't need to try to define any of that for you. So that's one way. When we think about everlasting life or eternal life, that's one thing that we think about. But there's also, for us, and the life that is left with us of somebody who has died. And, so we need to do something in the space, which is, one, name the truth. Eirik has died. And another truth is that we're alive, and we need to keep living and figure out how to do that with Eirik's life still being a part of our life in a new way. And so part of living eternally and everlastingly is the way that people keep us alive in this world, the way that we share with each other. I said we're a community of love and support. Yes, for now, but for the future too, as folks share with each other. Every time you tell a story about Eirik, every time you share his work with people and invite them into all that they get to experience through his writing, and anytime we pass on anything that Eirik gave to us, we're keeping him alive. I really mean it when I say I feel him more present here in this space now because of the love that you all bring into this space, because of those living memories that you bring into this space, that you bring into this community together. So we need to make a transition, and so we come together as a community to do that together, where we don't see and know Eirik in the same way, but in one way or another, whether we're people who believe that there is an afterlife, we're still dealing with eternal life here, and we're partly responsible for that happening, for carrying on Erik's legacy and sharing with one another. But more important than the ongoing legacy is one another, keeping him alive to one another and sharing all that he is. Usually, when I am leading a service, I say I don't want to tell any stories because it's not my thing to do usually. But there's a personal connection, but I'm also a terrible storyteller. So, my memories, I don't remember a lot of my memories the way people do, I don't think, but I remember feelings, and I remember character and the way people are in the world. That's what always sticks with me. And this is something, I was thinking back, even as long as I can remember Eirik from being a little kid, and Erik's just a little younger than me, but especially when I go over to play with Eirik at his house, and I remember playing on the street sometimes, and there's the other kids around, and Eirik wasn't. Even then, it took some reflecting. I wasn't thinking about this when I was a kid, but he wasn't like a loud leader. He wasn't somebody who, told people you need to do this or you need to do that, but you could see that he was leading. He was leading me when I would come, and he did it in a way where he saw people for who they were and knew how they needed to be invited in the moment. And I don't even know how he did it, because it wasn't with words. It was just, I think, Eirik could see what's weird in the world. He could see the uniqueness in the world and the goodness that is, connected to each of our uniqueness. And I know that he has brought that out in some of you who he has touched, and he has brought that out in all the people that, all the writers whose lives he's inspired, and the people he's helped to get started. And even for me, through the years, it was such a joy, I think, to, even living in the same town, we didn't see each other all the time through middle school and high school, and pass each other in the halls in school and say hi, and we weren't together all the time, but in the times I got to check in with him as we go through the years, we get together at the holidays and things like that, and just as he grew, just seeing him more and more just be himself to a degree that I wanted to be myself more, to see the authenticity and the way that he was just called it like it was, and saw some of the brokenness in the world and wanted it to be better, and saw the ways that things weren't right, and wanted I don't think he wanted to fix it all himself. He just wanted to point it out and say we should all fix this. But he saw goodness in people. He saw goodness in the world, and he saw it in the places where other people didn't think to look. And he saw the brokenness in a way that I know he made me want to fix those things, or at least be aware and try to do better. And I know that he helped me to, especially, I went into a career that, ministers can look kind of cookie cutter at times, and you get told a lot how you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do. And having Eirik, especially once once his writing is getting out, and just doing it his way, and saying, I'm going to publish the people who won't be published, and I'm going to get all the weird stuff out there that needs to get out there. And he inspired me, I think, increasingly over the years to just not worry about what people are telling me I should be, and just be me. And I've found a lot more success doing it that way. He always brought out the good in what was around him. I don't think intentionally, I don't know. But I know he's one of those people that I always felt like I felt good being around, and I felt like he had a good idea of what people needed and what the world needed in that moment. Whether he was just thinking it, he knew what good and right and true and just looks like. And that's contagious when you're around that kind of thing, whether it's spoken or not. So it's his character that has always stayed with me, and always, I've always wanted to. I'm not great at staying connected with people, but I always wanted to know that Eirik was in my life and stay connected, and I was proud of the work he did, and just wanted people to know that there's a lot to learn from him. So again, I am not going to share stories per se, because I can't. And I want you all to be able to share those things and the particular ways that Eirik has touched your life. And also, we're all feeling all kinds of things, and I want you to be honest about how you're feeling too. And, I know Eirik said that the service shouldn't be sad. He didn't give individual instructions to any of you, so be how you need to be. The next song, so all the songs we're using during the service, Monica shared the playlist that she, the approved not sad playlist, and there were just a few songs that stood out to me and spoke to me, and so the one that I want to play is, well, you all prepare yourselves for what you might want to say. I have to admit there was a little bit of, okay, I see something with a little punk rock in there, and so anybody who, if you were in high school in the 90s in Nutley, New Jersey, punk rock was at least around. And we were all touched by it a little bit, some of us a little more than others. But this is, I was a teenage anarchist is the song by Against Me. But it got me thinking about my really watching over the years when Eirik kind of went from being a kid who I always loved being around and admired to a voice and to somebody who wanted the world to be different and hearing, and it just made me think of him and some of the conversations we had late after all the older adults were back inside after the family gatherings and stuff, and just it made me think of him. So I'm going to play the song for us after the song, and use this time to again, feel free if you need to move at all while the songs are playing or anything. If you want to, get over to those memory cards, I'm going to keep reminding you so we're not all trying to do it at the last minute. And prepare yourself for anything you might want to share. And we'll listen to the song, and then we'll hear Roger will share with us after that. So let me... Morning.
I was a teenage anarchist, looking for revolution. I had the style, I had the ambition, read all the authors, I knew the Russonians. There was a war, but the class war, I was ready to set the world on fire. I was a teenage anarchist, looking for revolution. You remember when you were young and you wanted to set the world on fire? Do you remember when you were young and you wanted to set the world on fire? I was a teenage anarchist, but the politics are too convenient. In the depths of their humanity, all I saw was blood and
Roger. Roger's going to share with us, and then after that, we'll open up the space.
All right, so I'm Roger Rodriguez. I'm Monica's dad and Eric's father-in-law. So I welcome you all here tonight. I don't know what's more scary, standing here in front of all of you or that Godzilla movie, right? But it was something. It was something. And so are you all. So we're here to celebrate life. He called it a caffeinated remembrance of Eirik Gumeny. I like that. That's pretty good. But we want to celebrate that with not only Eirik and Monica, because Eirik had an impact on all of us in some shape, form, or fashion. So I want to start by sharing a few words about Eirik, a story, if you will, because Matt, I am a storyteller, right? So I wanted to get some insight as to how I knew him. So let me set the stage. Bottom line is, Eirik and Monica were dating for months over on the East Coast, over in New Jersey. Where's Alan Barb? Yeah, over there on the East Coast, celebrating life in New Jersey, if that's possible. Bottom line, Eirik comes over to the house, and pretty much, if you know Eirik, he's a pretty quiet guy, right? Until you get to know him, he doesn't open up. He doesn't say a whole lot. Now, once you get to know him, that's a whole different story, right? Because he can talk to anybody and anyone, especially if he's had some coffee, right? So bottom line, Eirik is at my house. He comes over and I'm tapping away at the computer, right? I don't type fast. So I'm tapping away at the computer and he sits down next to me, right? I go, oh, that's unusual. But I can tolerate silence, right? I can seek to understand. I'm an HR professional, right? I've been trained on all that stuff. I don't do it well, but I've been trained on all that. So he sits next to me, and I'm going, well, a little uncomfortable, but let me just tolerate the silence a little bit. And then he says, can I ask you something? And I said, okay. Yeah, Eirik, what you need? He said, can I marry your daughter, Monica? It's a little emotional reaction there. I'm trying to cover up with cheers, but it was deep. It was deep, right? In turn, I tolerated the silence, right? I didn't want to give him an answer right away. I wanted to make him sweat a little bit, right? You're asking for my daughter's hand in marriage. So I paused, and then I said, yes, you can do that, Eirik. Now, mind you, we both had a big sigh of relief, right? Based on the discussion and everything else. And I think you all know the rest of the story, right? They get married, they move here to Albuquerque and live happily ever after, right? So for that time frame, for that time period. But I wanted to say all that because it gives you some insight into who Eirik is. And because he's a kind person, right? Very kind, very respectful. And he'd do anything for the little people, right? He was the people's champion, right? He was Batman. So, and he was an advocate, right? A very unique individual, a unique person. And he was also a gifted writer, as seen by the series of books here, right? And when you look at that, and I had to look this up online, because exponential apocalypse series. Not one book, but a series of books, right? So when you look at that, you think, wow, his wit, his sarcasm, his profanity, right? So he did all that, and it really gives you insight. I went in and Googled it, right? Exponential apocalypse. I wonder how they define that, right? So I'm tapping away at the PC and it pops up. Eirik Gumeny's name is like 5 or 6 times there, right? It all just pops up. And then it gave you a little critique. It said, the tender, heart-steering tale of crappy jobs, a slacker cult, an alcoholic Aztec god. Who thinks that way? Who wants to write about it, much less think about it? So that is Eirik all the way around. But he's also wrote for what? Crack Magazine, as it said in the obituary, the Nerdist. The big deal was a New York Times article about him and Monica. So he was a gifted writer, and I appreciate that about him. And very talented. But there are 3 things that I hope he can hear, and I want to say tonight. Thank you, Eirik, for the time you spent with my family, Martha and Christina, and the Garces, the Arandas, all part of the family, right? So the time that you spent, thank you, Eirik. And I also want to thank you for the time and the love that you gave Monica, right? The 2 were meant for each other. We're meant for each other. And I want to highlight this. Thank you for being the person you were, your own man, a true visionary, right? That he saw the entire world from his own perspective, right? And he wrote and wanted to share with others so they could see the same. Thank you, Eirik.
Thank you, Roger. We have the opportunity for folks to share. We have the place till 9. We don't have to keep going till 9. We have the opportunity, and I would say that, whatever is needed on our hearts to share in this time, as we celebrate, then I'm sure we'll have the time to say everything that we need to say. And I'll invite folks, if you are comfortable and able, to come on up to the microphone, just so folks can hear each other better. If you are, for whatever reason, would prefer to speak from where you are, you can do that. Just try your best to speak so we can all hear well. And I will kind of monitor our time and try to pull us back together when it seems right. And I don't anticipate this, but sometimes, and this has happened to me numerous times, we open up sharing and nobody says anything. And that is okay. Sometimes we don't have the words, and sometimes not having the words is the way we honor how much we love somebody when we don't know how to say it. So whatever we need in this moment, there's no right or wrong thing. We are a community of love and support, celebrating Eirik's life together. And if you need a little more coffee to be able to speak those things, there's still some there. So I'm drinking mine, so I'm doing the job. All right, so with that, I'm gonna step over here so I can help if we need to adjust the microphone for folks to make things more comfortable. And I invite folks, just as you feel so moved, to share what you need to share. And then just to let you know, after that we will have a time of we'll have another reading, and we'll have another kind of movement of letting go. But for now, we're going to share some stories. So what do we have to share with each other?
Hi everyone, my name is Demi. I met Monica back in 2006-ish. We both have background in theater, but then we ended up being colleagues along with our friend Megan in New York. And around 2009, Megan was a newlywed. I had met my boyfriend, who is now my husband, and Monica started to date Eirik. And we talked about boys at work because, why not? It was an awful job, so we needed to escape. And she told us about this guy who was really cute, who was awesome and smart and cerebral and intellectually engaging and fun and kept her on her toes. And as the months went on, we could tell that Monica was in love, and eventually she wanted to introduce him to us. And then she said to me, let's do a picnic, but I have to tell you something. I was like, all right. She's like, you have to take it easy on him because he doesn't like Richard III. You said that. And I was like, all right, I'll be the better person. And then he showed up. And as Roger said, he was quiet, cerebral. I didn't attack him about Richard III. It's William Shakespeare history play, for those of you that cannot think of the reference right now. And it was, I could tell immediately that it was special, right? I mean, for those of you who know Monica has like the, $1 million smile. It was like $1 billion smile when they were around. And the sparkle in Eric's eyes is just amazing. So over the years, I came to the wedding. I had a good fortune of visiting Eirik when he was at Stanford a couple of times, and then, I came to visit a couple of times after he had surgery. So those are all the loving things that I can say about Eirik. So let me tell you now what really annoyed me about Eirik, because I think he's somewhere out there thinking, Debbie, please say something stupid to lighten the mood. So Eirik was a few things that I will never be, but I always wanted to be. Tall, natural blonde, blue-eyed, skinny, with very long legs. Like, never gonna happen for me, right? Maybe in another life, but that's okay. You gotta work with what you got. So I had every reason to resent him, but I didn't. I think over the years, we had a mutual respect and appreciation for each other. He is responsible for, my obsession with Breaking Bad. And one year when I visited, I felt very special because he organized a one-day tour where we went to all the sites together, and I totally fanned out on everything Breaking Bad. So, I will be forever grateful for that. So I finally want to say something to Eirik that I never had the guts to say before. Number one, you were wrong. You are wrong about Richard III. He is the best villain ever. Number two, I'm so fucking glad you gained weight after the surgery. Because, come on. And I love you, and I'll miss you. Thank you.
I'm sorry that our family hogged all those characteristics. I'm not blonde anymore. I was born blonde. We're gonna make a little adjustment, and Maria's going to read for us now, just so that she can do what she needs to do. And so, but then we will open space again. But we're gonna hear some more of Eirik's words.
Thank you. Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank Monica for me it's a great honor to be able to read something of Eirik's. We belong to a writing group called Dime Stories, and we wrote together for like almost 15 years. And he was an incredible person, and I'll truly miss him. And this is for you, Eirik. You will always be in our hearts. Too close to the sun, she watched the man pull himself ashore. A drowned angel, drenched hair in his eyes and busted wings dragging sand behind him. The woman Adriana had been sitting on the wooden deck of her home, lost in the brittle petals of an aging novel, hiding from a pain she could not seem to escape. She was low in her tattered lawn chair, a glass of iced tea melting beside her, deepening the dark ring upon the cedar. The last thing she ever suspected was that this world could still surprise her. There had been a slight splash, barely louder than the gentle lapping of the tide, then another and another, then a cough that rumbled the wood beneath her. She looked up and, drawn back with a start, at the waterlogged stranger shuffling across her sand. The man's feet left only faint impressions, his wings trailing grainy beach, and he removed them entirely. He was shirtless, shoeless, wearing nothing more than cargo shorts and a cocksure smile. Some surfer stereotype birthed straight from the wine-colored dusk. "Excuse me," said the man, the window behind Adriana shaking as he spoke. "Could I possibly borrow your phone?" "Sure," was all she could think to reply. Adriana led him in through the patio door, pointing across the eat-in portion of her kitchen to the next room. The man nodded, thanked her, dropped his wings onto her kitchen table. She could hear him in the other room, his voice quieter, yet still rolling like distant thunder. "Dad? Yeah, I'm all right. Don't worry about it." Adriana walked over to the set of wings lying across her table, a harness of knotted nylon broken in two places, resting upon a 6-foot pile of duck and swan and peacock feathers bound together with leather strips and melted wax. She lifted the wings, grasping them at the shoulder straps and holding them before her, weighing them in her hands. Heavier than they looked, sturdier than they should have been. They smelled of salt water and sweat. She could see scorch marks along the topmost row of feathers, cracks and tears in the thin leather slivers wrapped around the shafts. Adriana heard the man say, "Trust me. I think I got it this time," and hung up. She listened to his soggy feet upon her floorboards, making their way back towards the dining area. The man stopped in the doorway and looked at Adriana, running his hands through his hair and drawing them in ragged strands from his eyes. She could see now the telltale creases, the worried brow. The man blinked reflexively and shook his head, a stray remnant of ocean falling in his eye. "Would you mind terribly if I borrowed a towel?" Adriana gave the man her late husband's favorite flannel and a pair of his faded jeans. He thanked her and told her of his escape, his flight, his failure, each word sending a tremor through her bones. They set to work, repairing the man's broken wings. Adriana watched as he rolled duct tape, braided it with twine, and coat hangers wove it into the field of hide and plumage. Just a second. She gutted pillows, threading down through the gaps he left in his wake. She melted candles upon the cross-hatching. The two of them talked, traded stories, loves, tragedies, ignoring the dark blue-black that swallowed the house and pressed against the large window beneath them. They spent the night huddled at her table beneath the single Tiffany light of the kitchen. At dawn, Adriana led him through the lofted second floor to a skylight that opened onto the softly sloped roof. The man climbed out to the left of the window, bare feet upon the wind-beaten shingles. Adriana leaned out halfway, clutching the man's wings to her breast and looking up at him, his body silhouetted against the half-blue of the early morning. "You sure you want to do this? I could just call you a cab." "I appreciate the offer," the man smiled brilliantly, reaching down and freeing the wings from her grasp. "But I tend to get carsick." He looked out across the water toward the broken dawn, raising a hand to shield his eyes. The man strapped his wings to his back, pulling the harness tight against his shoulders. Adriana ducked back inside as he spread his wings wide, stray daylight filtering through the feathers, dancing on the floor before her, each movement he made. She reached forward through the rays, placed a gentle hand upon his foot, and said, "Goodbye." Don't make the same mistake you made before. I won't, he said, and looking down at Adriana's son's speckled face, I promise. The man jumped from the roof. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. All right. Our space is still open for sharing, so again, I'll just step back and let people use the space as we need it.
Hello. Oh, thank you. Sorry. Hello. So, of the people in here, I'm probably one of the people who got to know Eirik the least. Unfortunately, so I was coming here this summer, and I was looking forward to being able to talk with him because I didn't get to know him that well. And unfortunately, he passed before I had a chance to do that. But all my memories of him, and I'm sorry, I'm not a great storyteller either. My memory is horrible. My parents mocked me for it. Somewhat. But of the memories I do have, they're very nice. The first one was probably this is far back, way when I was young, when we first came for Monica and Eric's wedding. I remember we came from the hotel, we drove down the road, we went to the beautiful place where they were married. Unfortunately, I don't remember what it was called, but the biggest thing, kind of as Matt said, I feel more the feelings instead of exactly what happened. And I just remember a warmth there. And I'm not just talking about the temperature. I know it's New Mexico, but there was just a warmth there. And the more I've learned about Eirik, the more I've heard about Eirik from everyone around him, the more I feel I really wish I would have gotten to know him, because he seems just like an amazing guy to be around. And I feel like we would have had a very compatible sense of humor in a way. I try to tone down swearing in front of my family, but for this, fuck not swearing. I feel I haven't gotten to read his books very much, but I feel that it will be a way to get to know him a little bit better. Some say that writing is a form of immortality, and not everyone leaves a legacy like Eirik does. There are people who I wish I would have gotten to know better, and you can hear stories from family members, right? But Eirik left something more. He left so much writing behind. And when you read someone's writing, you really get to know not only their personality, but I feel their soul as well. And I'll be honest, I haven't really had a chance to read very much of his work, but I really want to, because, as I said, in a way, writing is a form of immortality. And when we read the words that he wrote, we get to know him even after he's no longer with us. And as I said, I know I can't really say that much in terms of specific memories, because I don't have specific memories, but maybe I can get to know him better, not only through the stories he leaves with his family, but through his writing and through his legacy. As I mentioned, I never got to meet him when he came here, but I do remember that, although I never was at the hospital, I was told that he wanted to, if he were still here, he wanted to take Monica and I down to see the stars. And I'm a huge space nerd, let's face it. I love science fiction. It's just amazing. And as I said, although we'll never get to do that, I feel it's the thought that counts, right? It's the fact that he wanted to do that. He wanted to spend time, and I really thank him for that. And I hope that even after we all are no longer here, through his writing, his legacy will endure. Thanks.
some of us, like Eirik, are quiet types who take a minute to let our voices come into a space. So me coming back up here isn't saying we're done. But I do want to just take another look and make sure. I always tell people that going through school, I don't know what happened, but I was never able to speak in front of people. It was horrible. And in class, I'd always want to say something, and by the time I worked up the courage to raise my hand, the bell rang, and we're on to the next class. So for that person, I always extend it one extra moment. So it's not your last chance to share, but it's your last chance to share in this moment. All right. Well, I say it's kind of 3 movements here, and we heard the Too Close to the Sun reading, which was going to kick us off into our, but the parts 2 and 3, they blend into each other. And so really what this last time for our gathering is for us to help each other and to try to do something together, which is to transition a bit. We've been doing it, some of us, and we're going to continue doing some of it. Grief doesn't all happen in one moment. Some of us haven't started grieving fully yet. We're all over the place, right? But we come together as a community to try together to mark a transition. And for us, it's that transition from knowing Eirik in this life physically, sitting down and talking to him and having those conversations, knowing him that way to the way that, I almost said journey, the way that we will move through our lives, knowing him in a different way. And so, we need to, again, just acknowledge some things. Eirik died. Some of those things, those conversations that we wanted to have with him, we can't. That one more time that we wanted to get together with him, we can't. We can't go see the stars with him now. We need to acknowledge that, and that sucks, right? It just sucks. That's why we have each other, to love each other and to journey with each other. Oh, I did it. To continue to love each other. So this is our time to commit to some things together. I get to assign homework. So there's a few very practical things that we could do today that will help us to continue to celebrate Eirik's life and to stand for some of the things he stood for and to continue to share his legacy. And so some of those things are, one, write down those memories that you have. And so we have them physically kind of recorded. We can do that so that they can continue to be shared. Buy books, lots of books. If you have them already, buy some for me. Buy them for your friends, share them, continue to, to financially support Eirik's legacy in that way, but also just to continue to share him with the world. So that is something else we can do. If you bought those books to support him and they're sitting on your shelf and you haven't read them yet, well, sit down and have some conversations with him and enjoy. And if the profanity is a blockage for you, there's deep wisdom in his writing, and there are things that he has to share with all of us. So buy books, read books. Donate your organs. Register as an organ donor. You all have magnets at your tables with a picture of Eirik on them, and you can you have the site to register right there for the National Registry to register to donate your organ. So do that. Check out the site, get more information, and yeah, that's it's important to Eirik, and so it's one of the ways that we continue its work that he would want us to do, and to to be able to give life to others. And we celebrate that some of Eirik's legacy is living on in the organs that he was able to donate, and so there's lots of ways that his life goes on and continues to touch people. Something to help you remember him is the pictures that are on the tables. They are there for people to take. You can take them home, and you can have something to remember him by. I snagged this one right away, one to remind myself to tell people to grab the pictures, but I think I'm the only person in the room who was on the same farm league team as him, although we didn't play at the same time. I was up in the Little League by the time he started playing, but we both played for Little's Pharmacy, which was the pharmacy I would go stop and buy candy in on my way walking to school when I was a kid. So take those pictures, the memories, and so that's the things that you can do now, here in this time, that will encourage you to do. If I'm missing any other things, somebody will remind me of them. But also remember each other, especially remember Monica, not just in the weeks ahead, but in the years ahead, and always surround each other with love and support, and sometimes we're really good at being loving and supportive in the moment, and there's a lot of life ahead for all of us where we're going to continue to have grief with us, and continue also to get together and laugh about the things that Eirik shared with us, and all of those things. So keep checking in. Like I said, this is not our last moment to share. Keep doing it. That's our homework, is to keep Eirik alive in all the ways that we are able to do so, and reach out to each other, and care for one another. And like I said earlier, we're all in different places with what we might believe about where Eirik is, how Eirik is. The degrees and all the training don't make me an expert in this. I just tend to think a lot about God and what might be going on there. But again, I don't know, but I trust that Eirik lives on in love that we have access to, and that in the love that wells up in us when we are remembering him, he is there and present in us and in our lives, and as we share with each other. So keep him alive in all the ways that we can. He gives us things to remember him by. Every time you drink a cup of coffee, he's proud of you. So in all the things that you shared with him, when you do them, remember him. Go look at the stars. He can't do it with you, but you can do it and remember him and keep him alive in that way. And all the things that we wanted to do with him, do them. And he'll be with us in doing them. So that's where we go from here, is moving forward and just reminding each other that we love Eirik, and that he loved each one of us, and that's why we're here, and we continue to love each other as a response to his love for us. With that, I do want to just some wrapping up things. Yeah, you have your homework assignments, right? I just like assigning homework because I was so bad at doing it. And want to make sure there have been folks who have been really important in being supportive to Monica and helping with making sure this all happened, and all the planning and all the things that have gone on, that we want to make sure that we name those folks. So Gina and Marianne and Martha and Christina and Jen and Demi, all of you, thank you. Thank you for everything that went into getting people here and gathering us and making everybody comfortable in the space. Thank you so much to all of you. And I think that's all the things that, I think that's all the reminders and everything I'm supposed to give. All right, I'm getting thumbs up. So that's good. We've said all of the things that, we've said all the things about who Eirik was in our lives. and who he is and who he was. And nobody said it directly, and I'm not going to say it directly, but just in case, we're going to close out just with a hint at who Eirik may be. Let me see if I can get us. So we have some closing music, and with that, this does bring us to the end of our time sharing together. It brings us to the end of our time today, this evening, tonight. But again, continue to share all of what Eirik has been to you with everybody. And